Hi, this is Dustin Luchme of HappyNeuron Pro. Today with me I have a very special guest, Kyra Minichan of the Cognitive Emporium. Kyra is not your traditional SLP. Kyra has a background in cognitive rehabilitation. In her practice, the Cognitive Emporium, she focuses on the smart but struggling learner. Kyra, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So, Kyra, you are definitely not the traditional SLP. Can you talk about your background and how you came to be a cognitive rehabilitation specialist? I like to use that term to describe you because you definitely do more than just language.
Thanks. I think, no, that's true. I do different things, and it is based on the background that I come from. I was blessed early on to have a team and work with a team, have lots of mentors, but I worked in a rehab hospital and I was a director of a pediatrics in a trauma hospital. So I'm very comfortable working with doctors, nurses, occupational therapists, physical therapists, social workers, and parents. So I have a team approach. I saw that to be so effective. When I left that arena and ended up, on my own, I really saw the difference that a team approach can be. And the reason why I saw that is because I do believe my philosophy is more like an ecosystem. Everybody's different. The clients that come to me definitely are unique. They don't fit the cookie cutter approach. I like to call them a platypus. That's because I kind of have a platypus principle manifesto that I created, and it's the approach that I believe in. Basically, if, like a platypus, they have the duck bill, the body of an otter, the beaver tail. And if you just look at the bill or just look at the tail and treat the client like that, like if you treat the bill, it's going to be a duck. You tell it it's a duck, it's going to be a duck. If it's a beaver, it's a beaver. But you'll never reach the optimal potential unless you actually treat the platypus. And that's where the magic happens. That's what I totally see in my practice. So I'm looking at everything and how it all connects. I'm definitely a pattern person. Patterns lead to change. And once you connect those patterns, then you get bigger and better results. So that's a little bit of my background. And in saying that, I definitely I take into consideration sleep, nutrition, medical background. All of these things go together and make these form a pattern or a connection that allows me to go and be more direct in the way direct in my approach, definitely my treatment approach.
So on that, I'd like to go into your method of therapy, which I've seen on your website, even just from talking with you for the past several months. Intensity and duration are the active ingredients, but can we talk about what that looks like in your therapy system and your program, how many times you work with students, what you do in your therapy program, how it's structured, and then what happens after?
Yes, and just to piggyback off the rehab, since we were talking about that, one of the visuals that I give parents is, when a child comes to me or a student comes to me, because when I say child, I work with all ages. Sometimes I just say child, but keep in mind if this client is in high school, it's not too late. But one of the visuals that I give the parents is that when they come to me and let's say they are struggling to read, I like to think that, okay, they're in a wheelchair. So absolutely, I'm not going to just say go run and expect them to run. That's what the school's telling them to do, and that's exactly why they're feeling hopeless, because they're not equipped. It's like they have two broken legs and they're not able to run. So my goal in therapy is to get them, meet them where they are. That's the wheelchair, and then move them through the stages of rehab, which would be from the wheelchair to the walker to the cane to walking independently. And I've yet to meet a student, and I talk to lots of them, that don't want the independence. They want to be independent. They do not want modifications and accommodations, and they're screaming that, but nobody's listening. Yes, they want that if that's the only thing that they think can keep them afloat. But at the end of the day, if you want a confident, independent child, which is most parents want, and happiness comes from confidence. If you want that confidence, then you need to get the independence. And in order to get independence, you have to change the way the brain is processing the information. So to also answer your question is, intensity, duration, and frequency is the only way to get true change. That's backed by research. That's not just my philosophy. But what happens so many times in a traditional therapy, it's based on insurance, and insurance dictates how many times a client can be seen. I decided long ago I was not going to be told by an insurance company who doesn't have any idea what speech language cognition requires. They're not going to tell me how to do therapy because they don't know. What I was going to do is I'm going to design therapy that I know will be effective and will work and will change the life of whoever's in front of me. And by doing that, that means that intensity, duration, and frequency has to happen. So I do not see anyone less than 4 days a week unless I'm coaching them. And that means if they've gone through an intense program and I just need to do coaching, or if it's a parent and I'm doing parent coaching. If it is a client who needs change in neurocognition, then they are seen 4 days a week, 4 to 5 days a week, 45 minutes to an hour for a minimum of 25 hours. And people ask me all the time, so you can get change in 25 hours? Absolutely, 100%. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't be in business if I didn't see that change. But you truly can. It's amazing when you go and attack something with intensity, how quickly the change can occur. But you can also just go, it's like going to the gym. If you go to the gym 1 day a week, you can go for years and not see change because you're not doing with intensity, duration, and frequency. And that's what creates that. It disrupts the system and it causes it to say, whoa, hang on. What do we need to do? We need to do things differently. And that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, and I think oftentimes with therapy, people are afraid of causing discomfort, especially with insurance and just law and policy now. And going into the kinds of people that you see, so I know your specialization is working with a smart but struggling learner. Is there a common class or classes that the students tell you struggling with, and then how do you help them connect what they've practiced with you with the digital tool during individual sessions or in group therapy to doing well in school in those courses?
Definitely a big topic right now is executive function skills. I see it, more than ever. That always tends to erupt, whatever you explode in that 5th grade to 8th grade level. Between that, that's when the wheels start to fall off. And this is the kid who's, been hanging in there and then asked to do more, pull more on that prefrontal cortex. For example, they're needing to change classes. They're needing to do their homework, remember to take each piece of homework to each different class. They're asked to remember what to do in each, the specific classes. They're asked to remember their backpack, whatever it is, all those executive function skills that kids struggle with. A big one is emotional regulation also. So you get the angry kid, you get the meltdown kid, you get the verbal, explosive kid. All of those go into it. So I see a very large population of executive function skills. When you start to go in and work on that prefrontal cortex and start to work on the initiation, activation, emotional regulation, sequencing, organizing, time management, all of those skills, you start to really get change. And you get a kid who goes from being codependent to independent. And that's what every mother wants. So many times parents will come to me and say, I just thought it would get better over time. I always had to just tell him, or tell her. And I thought eventually, they would just learn it. And what's unfortunate is in not recognizing those executive function skills being weak early on, when it push comes to shove, they shove. So the parents are shoving the kid out the door, pulling the rug out from under, and the kid's going, I have no idea. Like, I'm not, I'm not, it's sink or swim. Well, they sink. So I definitely work on that. I also see kids who struggle with, if they're coming to me for reading comprehension, that's a lot of it. They 9 times out of 10, it's either attention and focus, verbal working memory, and logic and reasoning are affected. If it's math, it would be logic and reasoning, visual processing, and working memory, sometimes attention and focus. Processing skills are also in there. But what I hope everybody hears and knows that processing speed, it will slow down according to what's going on. So for example, I've been to so many conferences where they say, well, you can't change processing speed. I disagree with that, because I do change processing speed. Now, that doesn't mean the sloth is ever going to become the bunny, but it does mean the sloth can get things done on time, in a timely manner, and done with proficiency. So by that, I mean, it's kind of one of the things that's affected is working memory. The more memory you put on a computer, the faster the speed. The same way with the brain. The more memory you enhance and increase, the faster the brain will process that. So there's different ways of doing it, but definitely the easiest way is to affect that memory piece to get the processing speed. There's other things too, but that's definitely an area that is affected, and I work with a lot.
No, and that's like super critical, because I think a lot of people, especially like parents, teachers, and students alike, when you hit middle school, where the training wheels from elementary school are gradually coming off, and there's more independence and room to explore, and you have to think about things a little differently and digest more information and output answers or results and solutions a little bit faster. It's a very, very critical age where now the independence, and you're gonna have to start thinking more like an adult. You're not a little kid anymore. That starts to happen. Is what kind of change in behaviors you notice from the students that complete your program as a result of completing a cognitive training program with you, and what you'd like teachers and parents and students alike to know about how to maintain that success after they've done a cognitive rehab program.
Okay, sure. One of the things that I didn't expect the feedback that I got once I started working with this. The number one feedback that I get and that I hear all the time is confidence. My kid gained confidence. As a parent myself, I didn't realize how critical that was until I had kids. Once I had kids and I raised, 2 sons, I realized, that's one of the key things that I would want both of my kids to have is confidence. And kids gain confidence when they become independent. If they are still relying on their parents to help them with homework, or their parents to do all these things, which parents want to do because they don't want to see their kids struggle, they never break that cycle to gain that independence and confidence that you're looking for. And there's a difference between confidence and cocky. So if you've worked with oppositional defiant, there's a difference between cocky and confident. And you want
to No, definitely. And I think that looks like when the student feels comfortable going home and looking for information that they don't know by themselves, asking for help when they need it, and taking care of their assignments, and being able to prioritize deadlines, and talking to teachers about what they can be doing better, where they can actually come in and help them.
And the other thing that I see and I hear, like what parents are doing is they're like, well, homework's taking forever. Well, if they're weak in it, they use every excuse in the book to get away from it and avoid it. The avoidance things that they do just is mind-blowing to me. So the change that happens after they do complete my intervention program is they just come in, they do their homework, and they're done. There's no avoidance. There's independence, and they don't have to have someone standing over top of them, spoon feeding them to get the work done. That makes everybody happy. Definitely makes the parent happy, because after a long day of work, they don't want to be doing homework. Makes the kid feel comfortable and independent because they're doing it on their own. No one's griping at them. And it's just, you reclaim that joy that you're looking for in the household.
And I mean, you really give them back their life. You also give the students and parents back a few hours of sleep, which I think everybody could say that's a definite benefit. Kyra, before we close out today, do you have any advice for a parent or a teacher that has a student that is smart but struggling?
Number one, if you don't know what to do, say you don't know what to do. I do that myself. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I offer a free 10-minute consultation, phone consultation, is because my goal is to help you. And one of the ways I can help is to admit if I don't have the answer, I will find someone who does. So I think one of the things is, I think we as a society, and especially parents, we always want to say we know what to do. And as teachers, we want to think that we have all the answers. But there's a lot of things going on right now that are medically based that teachers are not trained. And I tell them all the time, you have a lot going on, and let us in the outside world, the clinical world, help you. We can only help if you relay to the parents that you don't know what to do, but that you do know someone who can help. And that's finding someone like myself or other professionals and reach out and say, this kid is struggling. These are the things, if I get a teacher who emails me and says, this is what is happening. This student comes in, they're not prepared. They don't have their homework. Mom says they've completed it. I've not seen it. Their backpack, there's papers coming out everywhere. And they're failing all of their tests. That's in and of itself, I know exactly what to do. They're frustrated, the teacher's frustrated, the parent's frustrated, they don't know what to do, but I do. And there are other people like me who can help. And so what I would say to the teachers and to the parents is, number one, don't be afraid to ask. It's not a reflection about you. That's the other thing. Number two, I would say it's not about you. That's parenting 101. I learned that early on in my parenting world is, it's not about me. It's about this kid. Just because you struggled doesn't mean your kid's going to struggle. Just because you didn't struggle doesn't mean your kid's not going to struggle. Don't think that we as professionals are looking at you and judging you as a parent. I tell parents all the time, listen, if you judge me, if I judge you, you judge me, and I don't want to be judged. So it's a no judgment zone when you come to see me. And you have to put away that pride, put away that piece that says, it's something I did. Don't worry about that. Just know that let's get help for the student, because it's amazing what they can do. And that is exactly why I do what I do, because I believe 100% in our future. I believe these kids can do so many things if we get out of their way and if we find them the help that they need. So that's pretty much what I would say to the parents and the teachers.
Awesome. Kyra, thank you so much for your time today. If you are a parent or a teacher with a smart but struggling student, please contact Kyra at www.thecognitivemporium.com. You'll be able to book a 10-minute free consultation where Kyra can go over your students' needs and go over a course of action that might help you and your family and your classroom. Kyra, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.